Let's have a look at Bishop's poem, Filling Station. Not a difficult poem, but certainly an interesting one. I want to start off by showing you, well, I'm going to mark a few things and see if you can spot why I'm marking them. We'll start off here. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Then let's go down here. 1, 2, 3. Let's go down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a poem in which Bishop uses repetition very effectively. Repetition is a technique used to create emphasis, and it is employed in this poem to draw attention to particular aspects of the poet's experiences as described in the poem. The second thing I want to draw your attention to is this image here of a doily. Now, a doily is a piece, it's like a tablecloth, but it's in this particular case, it's a piece of lace work. It's been hand stitched. The poet describes it as stitched with a daisy stitch, whatever that means, and marguerites, little flowers on it. It's crochet, a piece of crochet. Crochet is like knitting. Now, that is a symbol. This poem uses symbolism and repetition to make, I won't say interesting points, I'll say interesting observations. And that's what, of course, Elizabeth Bishop is in many ways in her poetry. She's an observer of the world around her. She's somebody who looks at the world with this kind of forensic eye for detail, whether she's looking at a fish, or she's at her cousin's funeral, remembering that, or she's in her grandparents' house as a child, or in this imagined pigsty in The Prodigal. She brings us to places. So this poem is typical of her style in that sense, in that it's a narrative poem. It's a poem in which the poet uses storytelling to explore her thematic concerns. Now, a filling station is an American term for a petrol station. Okay? So it's one of those ones, you go around rural Ireland and you see these often abandoned buildings now, and there's like a couple of petrol pumps outside them, because in the old days you'd have like every little town and village, some local business, some local family would have their business, they'd be the local petrol station. This is before then the advent of the big chains that now dominate that industry. So this is a poem that's written describing an event that the poet Elizabeth Bishop experienced in the 1940s, the early 1950s. It's from that period of her life. And it's in rural America, and she's pulling into one of these kind of, family-run filling stations. And the first 3 stanzas show us that she finds the place an appalling, horrible, disgusting place to visit. And that's why the repetition of dirty 4 times in the first 3 stanzas is significant. So we can see it there. Sorry now. And the repetition, of course, creates emphasis. We know that. And we see in these first 3 or 4 stanzas, as I said, Bishop's brilliant ability to, evoke the senses, immerse us into a world of a story, bring it to life. You're studying narrative writing, you're looking at the narrative writing material on your paper 1 videos, or in our classes, or in your notes book. Really good narrative writers, great setting, great characters, and atmosphere. Those 3 are the 3 kind of pillars of really good narrative writing. And that's what the poet does here. She arrives at this place. Oh, the exclamation, Oh, but it is dirty. So it's like she's appalled by this place. And she says, this little filling station, oil-soaked, oil-permeated, to a disturbing overall black translucency. And then a little bit of kind of humorous drama. Be careful with that match. So we can see here that Bishop has arrived at this place, and the exclamation, oh, at the start, and the exclamation mark at the end of that stanza, it is indicative of the fact that this is not something that she's enjoying. She doesn't like this place. She uses compound word adjectives to tell us something about the place. She says it's oil soaked, oil permeated. So like it's polluted, it's dirty. The word dirty is there. The oil is everywhere. It's soaked into the kind of the atoms of the place. It's just not a pleasant place. This place she's pulled up to fill up her car. The second stanza, she paints these beautiful pen portraits of the people who lived there. We have the father, who she says is wearing a dirty, so he's dirty, oil soaked, another compound word, monkey suit. A monkey suit is an American colloquial term for like a set of overalls. Sorry, I'll just fix that there. So we get a sense that, you know, the clothes he's wearing don't quite fit him anymore, so maybe he's slightly overweight and they're cutting him under the arms, and he's filthy dirty, and he has these sons, several sons, and she says they're quick and saucy. Several quick and saucy and greasy sons assist him. And you get a sense of the playful nature of the poet's language here. The sibilance of the S's there with the S and the soft C sounds all the way through, kind of capturing the viscous, greasy, slippery nature of this place which is covered in oil. So the sibilance there adds power to the image of the sons. And by the way, sorry, now I find it hard to use this pen. I'll try it again. The sibilance kind of heightens the image, draws our attention to the image a bit more. And saucy is a kind of a colloquial American term from the time for kind of cheeky and disrespectful. So she's looking down her nose at this place. It's dirty, you know, it's the children are disrespectful, they're wild. The father is, you know, wearing this kind of, he's overweight, he's wearing this dirty overalls. She doesn't like the place. She looks closer at the building and she says, she asked the question, do they live at the station? And then she describes it. It has a cement porch behind the pumps, and on it a set of crushed, and again, look here, the compound word, adjective, grease impregnated wickerwork. So she's really trying to give us a sense of just how filthy it is with, you know, these words. We have grease impregnated, we have oil soaked, we have oil permeated, we have oil soaked again. So the repetition of oil soaked and the use of these compound adjectives really establishing how appalling she finds this place. And, you know, the furniture, the kind of garden furniture that's on the porch is the outside part of the building. There's a dog sitting up on it, and the dog is dirty, and then the dog is bringing its dirt up onto the wickerwork, and it's grease impregnated. So the whole place is just appalling, filthy, dirty, and she just wants to get her petrol and get the hell out of there. But this is Elizabeth Bishop. And Elizabeth Bishop is an observer, as I said. So her eye is drawn a bit more closely to the scene, and when she looks, we look through the power of her language. Her attention to detail, her meticulous forensic attention to detail brings the scene to life, provokes the senses. You get the visual images. Some comic books, she says, are there, and they provide a note of colour. And then she says, of certain colour, because of course the comic books are owned by the boys, and the boys are covered in oil and grease. So the oil and grease on them is on the comic book. So all of that. They lie upon, and there it is, there's the image I was looking for, the big dim doily. Draping a tabaret, part of the set, beside a big hirsute begonia. So she's looking at the porch, and she realises that the porch there's furniture on it besides the couch, the wickerwork couch that the dog is sitting on. And one of the things, there's a set of tables, like a nest of tables. She calls it a tabaret. And on one of those tables, there's a tablecloth, but it's been handmade. It's a doily. And there's also a plant. A begonia is like a pot plant. And of course, these are, in this very masculine world, this industrial world where father wears his monkey suit and he's assisted by his sons, there's this kind of sense of the invisible presence of a woman. These are like feminine touches, the flower and the doily. And there's a sense that there's somebody here trying to make this place look nicer, trying to make it less ugly, trying to make it more appealing. Now, why would they do that? And this is what triggers, this is why we have highlighted our 3 question marks, because this is what triggers the poet's reflection. And this is what I love about Bishop. She doesn't just observe the world. She reflects on what she sees and what she experiences, and like she draws lessons or insights about life from what she sees and what she experiences. So when she says, why the extraneous plant? So why is that plant there? It shouldn't be there. You wouldn't have a plant in an industrial scene. Extraneous means doesn't fit in. Why the tabouret? And then the kind of snobbish repetition. Why, oh, why the doily? Which he can't help but, describe in more detail. Embroidered with daisy stitch and marguerites, I think, and heavy with grey crochet. So again, the camera is zoning in this ability that this poet has to create photographic imagery because of her meticulous eye for detail is evident. But we have to ask ourselves, why is she describing this experience? Why does she spend so much time and effort showing us the place at the beginning, then introducing us to the characters, and then zoning in a little bit more on the detail and the little aspects of life in this place? The begonia, which is hirsute, which means hairy or overgrown. The dog, which is dirty. The wicker work, which is grease impregnated. The comic books, which have some colour but not much colour. Why is she showing us all these things? Why is she showing us this doily with this crocheted tablecloth, which has marguerites or little flowers stitched into it? Why is she doing that? She's doing that because this experience led her to a moment of insight. And when we know Bishop's poetry, we know that her work is often associated with this idea of epiphany. So if you've read The Prodigal, and if you haven't read it, you should, she describes a moment when the sunrise glazed the barnyard mud with red, and he almost felt he might endure his exile another year or more. Or you may have read The Fish, when everything becomes rainbow, 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 and she decides to let the fish go. These are moments of clarity, moments of understanding, moments of light, which help her understand life and feed her the energy she needs to keep going because her life is hard. So when she visits this place and she sees the filth and the dirt on the one hand, but also all of these little domestic touches, it leads to a moment of epiphany. Somebody embroidered the doily. Somebody waters the plant, or oils it maybe. Fanar, well done, Elizabeth, what a hilarious joke. Somebody arranges the rows of cans so that they softly say eso, so. The idea being that they're stacked, so you can see the word eso on the front one. I suppose if like this idea here, if you have 3 books stacked, okay, and you can see the full front of that. So that's the first can, S-O, and the next one is set behind it, and you only see the so. Actually, it's the other way around, isn't it? So I can get it right for you. So S-O, and then so, and then so. S-O, of course, is a brand of oil. And the only reason that somebody would have stacked the cans like that is because they like this place and they want this place to be, impressive to people who visit. They take pride in this place. And of course, why did I take pride in this place? Why did I want to make it look a bit pretty even though it's so ugly with the doily and with the begonia? Why did I do all those things? And they do all those things because it's their home. And this is when Bishop realises that she was a bit of a fool, a snob and a fool. That's why she calls herself a high-strung automobile. She refers to herself there as high-strung, which means snobby. And this moment when she realises that these people that she's been looking down on are actually more privileged than she is, have a richness to their life that she envies, because they have a place to call home. They have a place where they belong. They have a place where they feel comfortable. And she doesn't. Think about the imagery of the poem. She's on a journey. This is a staging post in her journey. And this, therefore, is a metaphor which represents her search for a place to call home. Something she never had because of the circumstances of her childhood, the death of her father, the institutionalization of her mother, the fact that her grandparents didn't really want to look after her, that she had to go and live with an aunt and uncle for a while before she was sent off to boarding school as soon as she was old enough. This sense of dislocation that she looks at in the wonderful Sestina, in the prodigal, this sense of life being a struggle that she looks at in the fish. All of these things come together here to give her hope, because she realizes that if this place, this oil-soaked, oil-permeated, disturbing, horrible, dirty place can be a home, well, then there must be somewhere where she can find a home. That everyone has a place that they can call home. And what somebody else finds appalling, you might find comfortable. What you find comfortable might appall somebody else. We all have differences. For her, she could never live in this filling station because it's too dirty. But these people, it's their home. But they have a home and she wants a home, and that connects them to her and makes her realize that they have something she envies, but gives her hope that she will find that missing piece in the jigsaw in her life. And that's why she writes the poem. And that's why the poem ends with a moment, an uplifting moment of insight and epiphany. Somebody loves us all.